Expecting the amount of churning up of roads that is happening this week in town.
We're recording.
Okay, well, it is shortly after 5, and I would like to call our meeting to order. Clerk, please read the roll.
Alan Griffiths,
I am here now.
Kima Yondell, Elliot Dyer,
Here.
Mike Meisner,
Here.
Louis Schultz,
Here.
Brian Whaley.
Here.
First order of business is to review the minutes from July 19th. Are there any questions on the minutes? If not, can I have a proposal to approve the minutes as written? So moved. Second?
Second.
Any further conversation? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. We have a couple of administrative approvals. Alec, I guess, are you reading on those?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So a couple, we'll start with one at 403 West Market Street. This is for a rear porch addition. The structure is a contributing structure in the downtown Sandusky Commercial Historic District. Material is metal. The color will match the existing secondary colors of the building. Staff determined that the rear porch complies with Sandusky's preservation design guidelines. Staff also discussed with the applicant if any additional changes are to be made, specifically asking if doorways for access would be added to the building. The applicant stated that the only change to the building would be to drill the holes to place the patio. And while the patio will be attached to the building, that's not how the structure will be supported. The weight of the structure will be supported by posts going into the ground, so no undue stress will be placed on this historic structure to hold up the balcony. The main piece of historic design guidelines used for this is that no new patios should be new patios should be kept at the rear of the property if possible, which this complies with. Staff determined the rear patio meets the requirements mentioned in the guidelines because it consists of acceptable design, simple colors, appropriate materials, and is in the rear of the building. And staff granted administrative approval for this rear porch addition on August 10th of 2023. The second item is an update from a previously approved agenda item, which was in October of 2022. This is for a balcony enclosure located at 223 West Water Street, This is a contributing structure in the downtown Sandusky Commercial Historic District. It is the Otako and Hotel Kilbourne building. The update is that the applicant is going to remove all of the glass structure as proposed originally for the upper floor balcony. Everything else is going to stay the same. The colors, the materials, they're just removing the glass. The design is also going to stay the same. Staff administratively approved this on September 7th of 2023. Thank you.
So just as a point of clarity, they're removing the glass and it's going to be open air.
Yeah, it's going to be an open air cover, porch, balcony.
Do we know, are they going to have any kind of like ability to close it off with fabric or anything like that, or is it's just open as far
I
as we
didn't
know?
specify. We did ask them if it was going to have the same ability to shield the area from snow and water, which was one of the reasons why they wanted to do it, and they said yes, and that was our only clarifying question.
The only other detail is the applicant stated it was for financial reasons that they're taking the glass out of the project. They were over budget, so.
Okay, yeah, understood. Okay. Then we move to item 4, which is other business. Aaron, who's leading on that? Aaron, you leading on that?
Oh, yes. So I wanted to mention, we've included a memo in your packet, just giving a update on what you have is the 75% draft of our design guidelines.
Before we get there, is there something about the boards and commissions?
Oh, is there?
cruise?
Sorry, I don't have agenda in front of me.
No, you're fine.
So there is a boards and commissions cruise coming up. When the city took part in supporting the Good Time, which I think was about 2 years ago now, we kind of flagged 2 trips to be able to take out on the boat. One of those we do with our rec program kids. So the rec program, Sandusky rec program, organizes a cruise for all the kids that participate in rec programs throughout the year, and they take them out on a cruise and they have a DJ, and in some instances it's the only time those kids get a chance to get out on the water, even though we live in a city right on the water. So that's one of those. And then the second one we do is a boards and commission cruise. So it's it's a thank you to you all and all the boards and commissions in the city for the time that you spend. You're volunteers and you take, your valuable time to come here with us. So we'd love to invite you out for a little cruise on the bay in the boat. And I think Cassie said that she'll have some food there and there's a cash bar. You'll get a formal invite, but we just want to make sure you all save the date because it's just a fun time to, celebrate and say thank you and take a look at the city from a different angle and discuss the progress we've made in the projects that have been improved throughout the year. So that's coming up on October 26th.
Cool, thank you. Okay,
And-
sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. No, thank you. I had my little memo in front of me and not the agenda. So the 75% complete draft preservation design guidelines are in your packet. So that's our public review draft. We'll have that available. We're asking for comments by October 6th. So end of business day, October 6th. That's about 2.5 weeks from today. And that draft is available on the Landmarks Commission webpage. It's in the agenda for this meeting, September 20th. So the link is right there. So you have all had a minute to get comfortable with that, and as a reminder, we've met with several dozen stakeholders and each commission members. We've gone through the previous guidelines in detail to bring you this draft. The majority of the content is the same, and Matt Leisure is here today, our consultant, to talk through. He'll give a little presentation, but just a high-level overview. The majority of the content in there is the same. We've ramped up the introduction a little bit just to be more accurate, introduce the Landmarks Commission. We've added a ton of tables, diagrams, photos, just to make it really a lot more user-friendly. And we really want to help applicants navigate this process and not feel intimidated and really understand what an appropriate project looks like and what we're trying to navigate away from and what is maintenance versus something they need to come to the commission. We've also added some guidance, and Matt will go over that at a higher level of detail. So I just wanted to let you know that you've got the full draft. Please give us comments by October 6th, and then we'll have a short presentation today on that project update. And hopefully I didn't steal your thunder, Matt, and talk too much about it. And then after the adjournment of the meeting, we'll have a more detailed discussion with those in the audience on the draft guidelines.
Perfect. And just quickly, before you present, I think the only comment I would make is to just kind of remind ourselves and everybody else that one of the primary drivers of this was to make the process of understanding and applying to the guidelines, to the commission for projects and for things you want to do to properties, whether they be commercial or residential, clearer, easier to find, and easier to understand. And so this is not a rewrite of the guidelines from a sort of legal perspective, for want of a better word. It's a restatement of what we already have with some tweaks, but in a format that's going to make it way easier for everybody, including me, to know what's in them.
What it doesn't do.
Without further ado.
All right, thanks, everyone. Let me get this. There we go. Okay. So thanks for having me tonight. This is our second community open house, so great to be back here and to get some additional feedback. So I've got about a 10-minute presentation or so, and then we'll go to the open house part following that. So let's see, are we?
Uh-oh.
So it looks like we're.
You have only slide one.
I put it on whatever you gave me.
What's happening?
Is it on the? Let's try this. Okay, so let's work.
Presentation mode.
It's working. Let's try. All right, we may have to do it this way. So let's see.
So the HVAC is making very strange
I was gonna
noises
say,
right now.
wondering what that was.
I thought it was the sound system for a minute.
To this part.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll do this. So sorry about that. So, okay.
Just monitor status.
I think the signs actually are important.
I know. Oh, it's very strange.
I've never seen this happen in this program.
But voted for.
Oh, yeah.
Feel free to grab your
Yeah,
backup copy if
I went
you
to the
want to just do that, Matt.
Party
Take your time.
last night, there were.
Is it on the?
Hopefully, you're
Okay.
Open it something else.
Let's try to open that again here. This-
Oh, yeah, grab it on the desktop, that'll help.
Pull it from. It's gonna be, local bids. Yeah,
Let's see, USB.
that's fine.
Desires and worries.
While we have a second and we're waiting, I'm just going to give this a shout out. So the Old House Guild is having a repurposing, redesigning Old House Treasures event on Wednesday, October the 11th at the Beckland Club. So it's a series examining reviving old homes for creative remodeling by Tracy, how do I pronounce that? Heil? Hilly. Anyway, that is free, open to the public. They're asking you to reserve by calling a number that I won't necessarily give out in this format, but if you are interested, anybody in the room or those watching online, it is available through the Old House Guild.
Cool.
Go ahead, thanks.
All right, sorry about that. I
No,
think we
good.
got it figured out here, so let's get going here. So we got just a very brief presentation here. Generally, we're trying to get to an overview of what we've produced thus far, so we'll jump right into that. But first, just a little bit about the purpose of the existing guidelines. So they provide direction for preservation in Sandusky, which is an economic catalyst for the community and enhances its identity. So that's a very important point. The current guidelines were first published in 2007 with an update in 2019, and this applies to all properties located within a district or individually listed on the National Register. So that's an important part to understand. We have lots more information on that in the document. So the scope of this update includes things like porches, roof decks, signs, et cetera, things that have been coming up a lot in front of the commission, clarifies a number of things. It includes some site elements, fences and landscape features. And the big thing is it's just got a lot of graphics now to explain what the guidelines actually mean. So it's complementing the text. So just a quick recap of the previous public open house. So we had about 25 attendees. Major topics that we looked at were the rooftop access, signs, and sidewalk seating. And you could see that the boards started to show that as the priorities. And we got a lot of good feedback on various things. And you could see the green dots on the board on the left show things that were preferred versus the red dots. So some things had a little bit of a mixed point of view, or others were pretty clear where folks were leaning. And then you can also see some of the priorities there as well on the right. So rooftop decks really rose to the top as a key thing for us to look at. So this is a summary of some of the changes to the current guidelines language. So we took that language and reformatted some of it and provided more graphics to make the whole guidelines document more user-friendly. There's a lot of graphics in the document, so it went from like 50 pages to 100, so it's a much more robust document, but it's got a lot of great information. And we really wanted to provide more intuitive organization to the document as well. So I think we've got a really clear way that you navigate through the document. And there is some new content as well. So this is a summary of some of the new content that we've added. So we've revised some of the introductory pieces. We've added some information about guidance for new construction. We've looked at rooftop access and additions quite a bit. We've had paint and other things that have been coming up quite a bit in front of the commission. We've added a couple new categories, storefronts and commercial site amenities. That's a piece that again, is something that's been discussed a lot. Same with graphics and signs. We've really expanded that section. And then we added a section on public art because we know there's a public art plan which our firm worked on with you all a couple years ago. So we wanted to incorporate some of that into this document as well. And that still has to go through the review of the Public Art Commission, but that's something that we wanted to make sure we had addressed in here. So this is an example of one of the graphics, and this is a flow chart to help folks understand the project review process. So you submit an application, there's staff review and coordination, goes in front of the Landmarks Commission here, and then you revise the project scope to address comments. And if it's an appropriate project, then it will get its certificate of approval. So that's how that all works. And we've got lots more language in here that supports that. One of the big additions are these charts. So what we're trying to do is show some scenarios that folks might encounter as they're thinking about doing projects. And we really wanted to make it clear what types of things are maintenance activities which don't need to go through an approval process, and also what types of things probably could get approved and things that maybe would not get approved. So it becomes clear to folks as they're planning their projects which direction they might want to go in based on the guidelines language. So the red X, that's something that's probably not going to get approved. A yellow circle there, that's something that might get approved, but it really depends on the type of project. The two green circles, those are things that are really in line with the guidelines and probably would get approved. They still are subject to your review, but we're showing the kind of direction that that we want to provide in the guidelines. So we think that will be a really helpful thing to help navigate some of the language in the guidelines document. And then these are a couple example graphics. So the rooftop access we know is a big thing, and it's maybe a little tricky to understand what the language is really saying. So we provided the diagram on the left that shows view to the principal facade from the adjacent right-of-way and how some of those additional pieces can be out of sight from the adjacent right-of-way. So we're showing some examples of how that works. Same with the graphic on the right. This is speaking to storefront and where signage can go, and just trying to show visually where all these different elements potentially can go in an appropriate way. So that's the summary of our overview here of the document, and we have a couple copies here to look at here at the meeting, but we're going to talk in more detail after this, so be happy to take any questions now. And yeah.
One question I had, in the document, it has a map of the historic districts, and it does have a symbol for all the other listed properties. Is there a list of those properties?
So I think those are all listed on the National Register individually, so they're all listed on that, but
In other words,
yeah.
what I wonder is, one of the confusing things in the past has been that people, they bought a property, they didn't have a clue, and they set out to do something. And if there was a list to go along with this map, I think it would help communicate with the public.
If you don't mind, I'll take a comment. We've talked about that, and I'm willing, if we hear that more, I'm willing to think about it, like for the appendix. What I'm worried about is something like that getting stale really fast, like it changing and then it not being accurate. We do have a page, so citysandusky.com/historic has the map that's live, and you can search for an address. But thank you for that comment, and I think it's worth considering.
I'm just,
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
No, I'd like to just comment on what Mr. Schultz just said. I think I brought it up before, but we do have the capability to do GIS mapping and identify structures, and I think the building department, the fire department, everybody needs, when somebody applies for a permit or anything to do any alterations, they should be able to look, the department heads should be able to look at the GIS mapping, link it. We have the technology to do it, so that should be a flag that everybody, to send them down to the appropriate direction. And if this is approved through the hearing process, this to the architects, the engineers, everybody involved should just get, this is what you got, the guidelines. So that's, I like that idea. That way everybody's on the same page.
avoids confusion.
Yeah.
We do have lists in certain formats, so
Pardon?
we do have a list of properties that are currently landmark properties in the city in certain formats.
Yeah, we have the map, the live map.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's like just a list of addresses
Right.
on that webpage.
Mr. Chairman, I will guarantee you the fire inspection department and maybe the building department, electrical, they're probably not even aware that
Yeah,
map is
I'm
around.
sure.
That's,
All of the properties are listed in our software for the building department, so any
Oh, good.
any permit
Okay.
that gets, anybody that tries to pull a permit for any
Great.
of those properties,
Oh, good.
it gets this bright red flag.
That's what I wanna hear.
It's
That's
like,
what I wanna hear.
Must
Yes.
have certificate of appropriateness through the
great,
Landmarks Commission.
great.
before
That's
any
awesome. That's a
permits are
big
issued.
step. Great. That's amazing.
So
Yeah.
couldn't that list just be printed? I mean, couldn't that just?
You'd
So the
think-
For us
problem-
old guys,
You'd think it would be that simple. It's, but.
Yeah, and also the problem with printing a list is that the list changes and is dynamic. And as soon as you print one,
Well, I'm just saying.
It becomes-
That's fixed. In other words, you
Yeah,
can't suddenly
I hear you.
blithely say, oh, this is a historic property. Well, if it's not listed, then I don't have to follow those restrictions. Does that make sense?
it does.
I'm just,
Yeah, I hear you. I
Mr.
think
Chairman, if I
there's-
may add to that, I think the one red flag, for lack of better words, is if there's ever a building added, then that list is now not accurate. It won't have that in the live document, where if we have the website map, staff can edit that and keep it updated
I got you.
without having to update the document again.
that map clicks with your software.
I guess the key is to
Deliver.
have
The minute you
the
add
public be
one.
able to access it.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
You're right.
I
It's a-
think this is a real step forward and fantastic, but the question is, again, to make sure that the homeowner or the business owners knows about it and has it, and is familiar with it.
Mr. Chairman, is something, say someone were to buy one of these properties, are they notified from the city, like, hey, heads up, you just purchased historic property, or there's no?
Not currently,
Fortunately
and
not.
that's, one thing we've looked into is like, what would that indicator process be? Like, where does the flag raise that we know? Because we don't know when a property buys, when somebody buys or sells a property, unless they start making changes, then they come to us on any given day. So, because that's generally county process,
It would, yeah,
title process.
Yeah, it'd
so-
have to be title, the realtor, or the
I
county.
think-
it would require the county registrar to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not impossible, but
Yeah.
would
Would
require the
require
county
some
cooperation.
collaboration, so.
I'll leave
It
at
would
that.
be yes, across department.
Yeah.
Jurisdictional
Does that make
coordination.
Yep.
We have discussed, we sent a mailer out to all property owners and address, people at the address for the first public meeting for this, to make sure they were all aware. And then I'm going to ask for the permission to do that again when we adopt the guidelines. So at least we'll have a couple touch points this year. And I think it's a good idea, maybe just once every 2 years, once every 3 years, to just send a mailer out and say, thank you for preserving the history of Sandusky with your property ownership, and just a reminder, here's your guidelines if you're contemplating any projects. And that's one way we can get at least some of those.
That's great.
Perfect, thanks.
Yeah, so if there aren't any other questions, we can start the open house portion, and we're going to get into a lot of detail on all these guidelines and with the boards. So happy to take any last questions. Otherwise, we can start the discussion.
I think we're good. We're good. Okay, yes, let's go ahead.
All right, thank you.
Did you want to adjourn the formal?
You might move to adjourn.
I guess, yeah, we're going to, correct. So we're going to adjourn the formal meeting and then move on with this. So without further ado, can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
And we are adjourned. Thank you very much.
You.